technology is always a solution in the crisis. So technology will be really handy. There are multiple areas in which this technology would be adopted. One area is in the conduction of admission tests, the learning space.
For online education to really become mainstream and enroll, millions of students rather than hundreds of thousands of students, we need to have online degrees that are accredited by the various agencies.
My message to all the students and the higher education stakeholders is we need to double our efforts in this time in order to sustain and keep our economy afloat.
In India, we have to look at technology and education 4.0 as actually providing education to the uneducated, people who are not getting quality education.
Education 3.0 was nothing but technology driven. This is now going to be a permanent feature and is now going to figure in all the teaching learning activities of times to come.
Yeah, hi. So we welcome the audience. We have with us Mr. Mayank Kumar, who's the MD of upGrad. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about upGrad, or you have seen their videos in which they advertise a lot of programs. upGrad is the leaders of online education. There are a couple of things about Mr. Mayank, and I think he comes from a very, very diverse and very, very diverse and very he has achieved a lot for whatever it is in his career. Whether it be completing his education from IIT Delhi and ISB, and then he's spent in consulting with Parthenon, and then with iNurture, and finally he's been the MD of upGrad, and he's also the co-founder for the last, with upGrad for the last 5 years. So welcome, Mayank. So my first question to you is, what was the initial vision with which you started, upGrad, and how was it like getting Ronnie on board, and the overall experience with you?
No, thanks a lot, Sahil. I think I find it a bit strange when someone addressed me as Mr. Mayank. So let's keep it on the first name basis, Sahil. And it's very unique to see that under your name it's Sahil Chalana, and under my name it's Mr. Mayank Kumar. Yeah, so I think it more.
Yeah, you read it out, so sometimes that happens. So sorry.
No. I think it is thanks a lot for having me on board today, and good morning, everyone. Really glad to be participating in this webinar along with Sahil. I have huge respect for what Collegedunia has been doing for quite a long period of time. They have pioneered the entire ecosystem and created a very unique positioning. So it's a pleasure to be with you, Sahil, today. On your point on Sahil about starting up of upGrad and the journey and the story behind it, I think it's not a very complicated story. Unfortunately, for the last 10-12 years, I've only been in the education sector. I was earlier as an advisor with a company called the Parthenon Group, where we were advising companies globally to invest in education sector and look at education sector closely. So there I was involved in deals close to about $1 billion flowing into the education sector. And post that, moved on to Bertelsmann, joining them in the India investment team, largely sort of focusing on Series B, C investment companies. So Sahil, for me, fortunately or unfortunately, education is the only thing that I have been exposed to or have worked in. So I did not have an option of sort of figuring out what outside education board needs to do. And therefore, education is the sector that I wanted to start off something of my own. And that's where the thought process of upGrad came into existence. There were three things, Sahil, to your specific point, that why we wanted to start off with upGrad. I think first one was this entire problem of access. And I think one of the biggest problem that we saw in this ecosystem was, that we have about 130, 150 million people who should be in college today, but only 25%, 30% people are in college right now. So for every 2 of us, Sahil, who are on the screen right now, there are 6 people who have not gone through higher education in this country of similar age group as ours. And I think that is one of the big problem area that this country is facing, wherein despite having such a sort of large population, we have not yet been able to solve for the problem of access for higher education. And I think online degrees and online education, to me, would have been one of the critical things that would drive the growth of the ecosystem. And that's why upGrad came into existence. The second thing, Sahil, also very interesting. I don't know if I can ask questions, but a general thing that I do with anyone who typically come and join us at upGrad, I ask them, tell me how many years of experience you had and how many jobs have you changed. So take the ratio of that number of years of experience, divide by the number of jobs. And if you look at various answers, Sahil, you will get answer ranging from 1:1 to 2:1 to 3:1 or 5:1. That people have 15 years of experience, but this is the third job. 18 years of experience, but sixth job. So people have been in a job for 3 to 4 years. But Sahil, if you ask the same question to our parents' generation, you will realize the answer is roughly about 30:1, 35:1. They have been in one job for like 30, 20, 50, or for 35, 40 years, etc. And I think the interesting thing, Sahil, there is that we are living in an era where jobs are changing drastically. What you did at one time in college is no longer relevant when you are in the working life. And I think that was the second broad reason for us to starting with upGrad. And the third one, Sahil, I think you would appreciate this more than anything else, was this entire context of quality. And in the quality context, what I wanted to maybe talk about was, I don't know if you have been to Greater Noida, Sahil, ever.
Yeah.
There's a running joke in Greater Noida that if you throw a stone, you will hit an engineering college.
Yes.
And this was one of the engineering colleges.
MBA as well.
MBAs as well, correct. So one of the engineering college I was visiting, and I went inside the college, and there was no person on the guard. I mean, there was a guard who said, "I don't know what happens, sir, inside. You can go inside and check it out." There were 4 kids, Sahil, on the 3rd floor of the building. Only 4 children in that college doing their engineering program. And 2 of them come from Chhattisgarh, 1 from, I think, Bihar, 1 from Bengal, all from eastern part of central to eastern part of the country, and came from very typical lower middle class families. And they said that, sir, kabhi teacher aate hain, kabhi nahi aate hain, and that's what we go through. I think that was a penny dropping moment for me, Sahil, that look, if that's the quality of education that people are facing, then you need to do something about it. And I come from very subsidized education from Kendriya Vidyalaya and IIT, where my education was paid by the government. And I was of the opinion that, look, if I'm not doing something about the quality of education, then I don't have the right to complain. So I wanted to complain, and therefore I wanted to sort of start something of upGrad at that point in time. And that's how the thought process of upGrad came into existence, Sahil. But to your second point, how did I come across with Ronnie, was more serendipity than design. One of my colleagues earlier, where I used to work at Parthenon Group, was living in the same place where Ronnie lived, and we met once because Ronnie was thinking of what next after his media sort of journey, and education was something that he wanted to pursue into. I think after meeting once or twice, we just sort of stopped being in touch. And I think after some point in time, Ronnie pinged me saying that, look, I want to start something in education. Would you be open to being a co-founder? I said, okay, let me think about it. And with that sort of journey, with serendipity, we came together by accident. And I think after that, all of us came and joined hands and started the journey with upGrad.
Great. That's a very inspiring, journey. My second question is around online education. How has it been in the last 5 years? If you can share some numbers and milestones, and what works, what does not work, because I know a lot of the students and the audience might not know. And how do you see the market and overall people in terms of the skills acquiring, what kind of skills they're acquiring, and the degrees in the next 5 years? So I'm just taking a -5, which is the previous 5 years, to the next 5 years, kind of a journey with you.
Got it. So I think the previous 5 years, Sahil, if I have to look at it, when we started off, online was looked at with a lot of contempt. Yeah, online padhai kaise hogi? Who will learn online? Can you sort of even pick up skills online? And online was treated akin to video games. Online was not treated akin to learning. So I think initially when we started off, acceptability of online education, not just in the minds of learners, but in the minds of parents, but in the minds of employers, was quite a challenge at that point in time. That people felt that acceptability of online education is not there. Everyone thought that online has to be free or cheap. Uh, Everyone thought that online has to be just about watching a few videos and going through the journey. Everyone thought online should be frivolous, not serious. So for us, I think one of the bigger challenge, Sahil, what we saw and how we saw this changing, was how do we change the perception of online from being a light touch learning to a more rigorous learning. And I think when we design our experience, our programs, which are a year long or so, a learner goes through about 500 to 700 hours of learning. It's a rigorous learning. Every weekend there's a project, every weekend there's an assignment. And I think we changed that perception over a period of time of making it more center and front and center, rather than being a supplementary education that we had seen in the education sort of ecosystem overall. Now, when we saw this, I think we realized two things that we observed. That at that point in time, online education was a lot about, 5 years back is what I'm referring to, was a lot about giving access to content. कि अगर आपको Harvard का चाहिए, if you want something from Stanford, if you want something from IIT or IIMs, etc., go online, you will get access to content. But in my mind, access to content was anyways there from a long period of time in the form of libraries. If you want the best book in digital marketing, you can get it online, or you can get through a library and purchase it in a library. But education is not just about access to content, but it is a lot about the experience, the peer-to-peer engagement, the alumni feeling, someone coming and shouting at you saying, Sahil, padhai nahi kar rahe ho, let's put you back into speed, etc. So I think our approach towards creating a unique experience, which is rigorous, which is personalized, and not just passive watching of videos, and which leads to some kind of an outcome for the learner. I think that's the journey that we took, Sahil, over a period of time. And now, I mean, we are currently we have trained about 700,000 to 800,000 users through our programs over a period of time, across all age group, across all strata. I think the advantage of us being in online is that we get folks who are at 17, 18 years old to people who are 60 years old. And the entire spectrum comes and learns different kind of programs with upGrad. We have delivered about 20 million hours plus of learning to our user base. So people have gone through rigorous learning. It's not just been some basic light touch model. And I think those are the things where, Sahil, we feel proud that, look, we have impacted these many people's lives and their journey. Where we are right now, to your question, Sahil, the next 5 years are going to be very different from what previous 5 years have been. I think NEP is a great leverage and great lever for making the transition and making that shift. Because if you see how things have evolved and what the government is pushing for, that online will become front and center. 20% of the curriculum that could have been done online as per the previous regime, government is pushing for 40% to be done online. And that again is a big needle mover for a lot of university students, because today 40% of the credits they can get it through online medium and through online mode. Online degrees are becoming more and more relevant and more sort of legitimate. So why do I go to a, let's say, tier 3, tier 4 offline institution when I can be in a Bhilai, Indore, Jaipur, or for that matter a Bhagalpur, Asansol, and get access to Delhi University program rather than going to Delhi University and spending the lodging and boarding costs in the process. So I think the next 5 years, I definitely feel a stronger push and acceptability of online education, which will just change the entire perspective of where online education would be headed towards.
Got it. So one more question. So can you please explain more on the NEP? It has defined that 100 eminent universities, like deemed universities, can partner with players like you to deliver online. But I think there have been a couple of challenges with the Amity online program being taken to court. I think you were supposed to launch something with Jamia that I think you delayed.
Correct.
So can you put more light into it? What was the initial design and what is really stuck up?
Correct. So I think there are 4 things. See, NEP is doing everything from a K through 12 to higher education. So there are multiple changes that are happening across different sort of spectrum. Let me just talk about higher education, Sahil. What are the 3 or 4 big ticket changes that we have seen? Just give me 1 second, Sahil. Sorry. Sorry, Sahil. I think just someone was sort of on the door and the door was open. No, I was saying there are 4 things that are hugely disruptive in the NEP for higher education. I think the first thing, it's pre NEP, but essentially the top 100 university being given the access to offer their programs and their degrees online. So let's just keep that as bucket 1. 2 is this entire concept of credit banks. So if you have read NEP,
Yes.
Today an individual can actually hold certain number of credits in their bank. So if you're doing something with University X in a particular city, you can finish the credits at a different university also, or you can take a pause in your education and come back to finish off this later. That again means that as working adults, because in India socially, you need to get into jobs immediately. So sometimes after in your 12th standard of or when you are in the first or second year of your journey, your parents would say, "Aao dukaan pe baith jao," and it happens, and most places it happens, and people sometimes take a drop at that point in time. I think that having the bank would mean that people can actually continue their education in the long run, and adult learning will open up significantly because of that, Sahil, in the Indian ecosystem. Third one is this entire context of Indian institutions to create international presence and international universities to look at India. And I think that again will open up a very different sort of ball game, because Indian universities have to establish larger international presence, and online will play a very critical role in that. Because tomorrow when you go for a QS ranking or a Times Higher Education ranking, internationalization is a very critical component on which you get rated on. And the fourth one is that 20% moving to 40% for coursework to be done online. Now, having said that, a lot of these are very right intent, Sahil, that the government has put out. Although I believe that execution of that will matter a lot more. So if you think of it, yes, online degrees have been allowed, but if you're tracking what is happening with NEET and the JEE examination, till NEET happens or till JEE happens, it's difficult for any university to start accepting enrollments. Because everyone wants to first see whether I'm going to qualify in JEE or not qualify in JEE. And therefore, the entire admission cycle has gone and pushed back. So government is actually focusing on, let's just figure out, ek baar NEET ho jaye, ek baar JEE ho jaye, then I will figure out how do I open up online degrees. Because otherwise, if you open up online degrees, everyone will enroll into online degrees, then NEET results or JEE results will come out. Then there's going to be a bit of confusion. So I think there is a conscious choice from a government perspective of giving a very sort of clear perspective that, look, let's first solve for offline education, because COVID has put us in a very tricky spot, Sahil, right now, that a lot of learners today who would be there hearing us out, their higher education approach has taken a 6-month break.
Yes.
Till that time that gets solved, some of the other things, that's the reason why we are also holding ourselves back. Amity is a very different sort of example, you know better than anyone else. It was because of regulatory approvals, etc. But government intent is absolutely right. It's about execution on the ground that we need to be quite wary of.
Got it. Mayank, this is a question specifically to upGrad. I'll share one good news with you. So I just have a news that around 2,000 people are attending this webinar.
Oh, lovely.
So when we marketed, we planned for about 700 to 800. I think around 2,000 have shared. So that's and we have a lot of people from some universities. I know a couple of people from Bangalore who are heading the colleges. So I'm just thinking on a personal level. My next question is upGrad specific. You shared about the vision of upGrad, but what becomes more relatable is the numbers. If you can share some milestones and some program-wise breakup with our students, how are students reacting to the online wave? Like everybody is advertising data science so much that it seems that 60% of their revenue might be coming from upGrad. Now I might be wrong, and how do you see in the next 4 years what kind of skills will be really taken off by this wave? And the last question is about the payment. It's about employability, which justifies a fairly high fees for a program. Like for a GDP per capita of about $2,000, which she project, a 2 lakh program is still a very, very expensive.
Very expensive, yeah.
How do you see that getting solved? Let's say, I'm sure you have a vision of touching maybe 30 million students. I'm sure you guys visualize that. But but till the time, that expense part is managed and the assured employability is managed. So what's your view? So first is a milestone, what is working, and second is this, the two parts.
Sure. So I think there are 2-3 things that I would just give you as a high level numbers and maybe just slightly deeper number. As I said, so far since our inception, we have trained about 700 to 800,000 learners. Every day it's changing, Sahil. So every day we are adding a large portion of our student population. And we believe that in the next 6 months or so, we should hit the 1 million user mark. So I think the growth is quite sort of robust on the student coming on the platform. These are essentially, Sahil, both paid and free programs. Combining both of them together. And what it has allowed us to do is get a very clear data point of how individuals learn and how students are learning in this journey.
Can you share a couple of examples so that it becomes relatable?
Yeah. So when I say these many people are learning, I'll give a very simple example. You not only get hard skill data on the learners, Sahil, but also very lot of behavioral skills. I think one of the behavior that we have seen, because a lot of our folks are working professionals, that they study mostly at night, post the work hours. They spend about half an hour to an hour every weekday, and over the weekend they spend a lot more time. So that's been one sort of trend that we are seeing. Interestingly, we have also seen afternoon peaks in learning, because around the afternoon time, pre-COVID era, there used to be the lunch break, and people would pick up and take up like a 30-minute quick learning and get to finishing of the modules over a period of time. This is very interesting, Sahil, that when it comes to submission, the behavior is very similar to colleges. That working professionals, even because it's submission and we keep midnight as a submission day, they start their submission at 11:55 p.m. So they will all start working towards the last moment and not plan in advance and sort of start submitting in advance for some of these guys. 3, because of that, what we do is we get a lot of skill-based learning. So we know which learner is good at Java, which learner is good at Python, which learner is really strong in algorithm. I do understand, I do track scores of communication skills, how good are they in articulation and talking about what they have done. So a very interesting career profile that we create for each learner. So when the job comes in, it's very easy for me to match the right job to the right learner. And I can connect them saying, look, these guys are very good at planning related job because they submit in advance and they do a lot of homework in advance. These guys are very strong executor, that they will do the things much faster, very quickly. But these guys you should definitely take for the technical prowess and technical skills, etc. I think that's that understanding, because we have had those large number of users coming in, helps us in improving the learning experience, the learning journey for some of our users as we go along. In this journey, Sahil, we have so far, as I said, about 10 to 20 million of teaching hours have been delivered to our learners. So we track data on every learner, how they're rating the content. So I understand which content are doing well, which content are not sort of doing well, so on and so forth. And that also gives me a better understanding of how do I even design content, which makes it more interesting. See, Sahil, interestingly, education is not like Netflix and chill, right? You can watch Game of Thrones for a longer period of time without binge watching series, but it's difficult to binge watch Python 101 or Economics 101. आप ये नहीं बोलोगे कि look, I sat down at 12 o'clock in the midnight until 6 a.m. in the morning. I finished the full Python course, or I finished the full Java course, I finished the full full stack development course. So education requires a lot of push in the process, and that push is where we have about 150 plus and about 500 plus mentors on the platform who are actually following up and giving these users direct and sort of relevant feedback. So I think that handholding has been another milestone for us to achieve strongly. So far, we have achieved 80% plus completion rate for our programs. While in online, the completion rates are about 10%, 5%, 20% in that zone. We are one of the few companies that have a dedicated alumni and career services team.
Any secret sauce around the 80% which you want us to?
No, I think some people say that, look, if the person is paying you 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees, then they should stay. But I give them the example of gym membership. I don't know if any one of you, of your user, would have taken a gym membership. Come January, everyone forms a New Year resolution and they join the gym. But by the time March comes in, everyone is out of the gym because it's a sunk cost philosophy. But I think in education, the secret sauce, Sahil, is that if you think of education requires a strong amount of push. I say that education is not like eating vegetables. I mean, it is like eating vegetables. Till your mother slap you to eat them, you never want to eat those Karela varieties and the Kaddu varieties on your own. So you require that push. So we have in our team, every learner has a dedicated mentor who will follow up and say, hey, Nitin, hey, Ishita, you have been lagging behind in this program. Can I help you with something? Can I connect you with this thing? The reason for high completion, Sahil, is a very strong human touch. Be it mentor, be it graders, personalized feedback, industry experts, all of them coming together and having a one-on-one connect with the student is what allows us to achieve a very high completion rate in the process. The third critical component of high completion rate is you should realize that education is a very strong community experience. When you went, Sahil, for your undergrad or postgrad programs, not only you enroll for the program, but your entire family enroll for the program.
Yeah.
It is roughly like that. If you think of it, and all your 2,000 folks who are there, if you guys remember your 12th or 10th standard board examination, I don't know, Sahil, what time were you waking up for your board exam on the day of the board or 2 days before the board examination? People typically wake up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And you are studying, let's say, physics. Your mom, who may not have any idea about physics, would still wake up at 5 a.m. along with you.
Yes.
She will still give you a glass of milk because she has actually figured out the secret sauce of online education. She has figured out that, look, abhi main uth gayi hu, or I have given you a glass of milk. There is no chance that Sahil can go back to sleep.
Yeah.
He has actually taken commitment from you that mera to exam nahi hai. I don't understand physics. I'm staying up because of you. So at the end of the day, Sahil, you end up taking a social contract with your mother, unsaid contract. Yeah, dekho, if you are waking up.
So how do you replicate this? Just 2 or 3 nuanced things which you did.
Yeah, so let's say someone is not finishing my program or lagging behind. Because a lot of our working professionals, their kids will get a message saying that, look, dad is not finishing the module or mom is not finishing the module. Or the parents will get a message saying that, look, your kid enrolled for this program, but is not finishing the module at the right point in time. You need to take anonymity out of online education. Sahil, if you think of your experience, I don't know if you've done any online programs in the process.
No, I've not, because it's been fairly busy.
Fairly busy, right? A lot of people take up an online program, but then they drop off.
I've done that previously.
Yeah. But where did you go for undergrad, Sahil?
I went to BITS Pilani.
And when you went there, so let's take the example of your online program that you would have taken, which you not have completed. When you did the program, did your parents, friends, family know that you were doing, right? When you went to BITS Pilani, did your parents know that you're going to BITS Pilani?
Yeah, everybody knows because it's a social
your uncle, your aunt, your Tauji who lives.
So how do you replicate? It's like, do you take, whenever I register with you, do you take all the contacts of my uncles and just?
No, so we do ask for people to nominate one champion outside. Make it a very non-anonymized experience. We make sure that people know each other really well. We make sure that when you're taking the decision, your progress goes to some of your close contact. The moment you make it a social experience, online education becomes education. Otherwise, think of online education 1.0, which happened 5 years back that I told you. It was like library. If you go to a library, you can study anything on your own, but then if you feel like sleeping in the library, you will go to sleep also. If you go to BITS Pilani, you start learning, but you cannot drop off, because if you drop off, you will not have a problem, Sahil. Your parents will not have a problem, but your remote uncle who lives far-flung places will call up your parents saying, "Ladka to bigad gaya." And that social pressure pushes you harder on completing. And therefore, one of the critical things in online education is to take out anonymity. And the moment you take out anonymity by making sure that your profile is visible to everyone in the system, is when people start taking it very, very seriously.
Yes. And what about my second question was around employability and expenses.
Correct. So I think on affordability and expenses, I do believe that 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees is a premium pricing positioning. But when we price the program, Sahil, our approach is very clear that we need to tag it to the ROI that we'll bring to the table. Typically, after graduation of our program, the average increment that our learners get is about 50 to 60% on their previous salary. Their average salaries are about 6 to 8 lakh rupees. So 50% increment on that is about 2 to 3 lakh or 3 to 4 lakh rupees on average that they end up getting as increments. So for them, if I'm putting in 2 lakh rupees, they know that I will end up getting 3 to 5 lakh, 6 lakh rupees in a period of time from this program itself. So education, specifically higher education, see K through 12 is a regular expense. Every year I need to spend 100, 200, 100, 100 for school fees. And therefore K through 12 globally is seen as percentage of your income being spent on K through 12 education. Higher education is once in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years expense rather than every year expense. So when they look at higher education, they dip into the savings to invest in higher education. If you go to a Harvard, many of your guys who are listening to this program right now, if I ask them a question, look, you got a Harvard admission and it's a $100,000 fees or $200,000 fees, would you end up taking that up? A lot of people will say, yes, I will end up taking that up because I know that if I pay $200,000, I will end up getting a $150,000 salary, which will grow over a period of time, and I will return that capital. So higher education, Sahil, is seen as a return on investment. Therefore, when I'm pricing it, we price it by saying that if this is the value that you will get, this is the price of the program that we will offer. Once it gets to an investment mindset and not an expense mindset, people end up looking at financing schemes, loans, or dipping into the savings to actually invest. When you buy gold, you don't buy, "Arey, mujhe immediate utility kya milega?" You buy gold because you know that gold, if you hold on, or a good stock or a good mutual fund, if you hold on, it will give you return in the long run. So that's the philosophy that we come with higher education. That look, I will drive value. If the value is getting driven, I should command that return for as an edtech brand, and that's the philosophy that we are sort of focusing on.
Got it. One question, like around the brand part. So how do you see the brand evolve? In the last 3-4 years, I'm sure the online part has played, but what about the partnership with the universities? That is one. And the second part is that don't you think that when you link it to employability, you're restricting yourself to certain IT courses and maybe some finance courses which have a lot of value directly to the employability? So it means that tomorrow, let's say you want to market a BA history program. I don't know if that isn't a purview.
Yeah,
which is not directly linked to employability. How do you market that? And around that.
Two sets of questions. I think on brand, yes, partnering with great universities does help. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It is quite relevant. But we have been very conscious that while we do so, we want to build up that brand. I think that I saw a couple of questions on how's your ad campaign doing, and we do want to be front and center so that people see upGrad also as a brand. And over a period of time, if you look at our search volume on Google, we have gone and surpassed some of the leading education brands in the country, because we do want to establish ourselves as a higher education brand in the journey that we have taken. So I think that's the approach that we have taken. Partnering with university does help, but we don't want to be a white label solution, i.e. that it's a university program and there's something at the back end called upGrad who's doing it. And therefore, Sahil, on that note, we have actively built our own dedicated alumni team because we want to engage with them even after they graduate. We have given out lifelong access to our career center to our learners, that even after they have graduated, the jobs will come, you will apply, you will go through this, and you will get it executed. So a lot of work that we do on the back end is essentially to drive a very strong connect with upGrad brand, so that students believe that they can sort of have a meaningful relationship with upGrad and not just the university program that they have taken. So that's on the branding front, Sahil, how we look at it and how we view it. And it's important for any entrepreneur who's listening in today, if they're looking at creating the presence, you need to be very clear whether you're building a B2C brand or not. And in some of the university program note, Sahil, like you guys work very closely with universities, right? But Collegedunia is a brand in itself. So consumers come to Collegedunia and then you decide and let them take a non subjective view and completely objective view for deciding which university and which college for them to end up taking. But if Collegedunia was a white label solution, it's difficult for you to sort of attract user to come to your platform and hear you out, because then you're biased in that context. So for us, therefore, having a consumer brand was very, very critical, and we have been always on the front and center for building the consumer brand as we go along. Sahil, your second part of the question was on outcomes.
On let's say you told me, right, because you marketed as employability versus non-employability.
Right. So I think I don't. I mean, I use the word outcomes more than employability, because every program needs to have some outcome. Even in my programs on data science, etc., there are 3 different types of outcomes that people look for. 1 is transition, 2 is promotion or career acceleration, and 3 is professional confidence. A lot of people come to us saying that, look, I want to move from a QA role to a data science role in a different company. So that's on transition. So that's for job shift. A lot of people come to us, 1/3 come to us with transition as an outcome. 1/3 come to us by saying, hey, I'm working as a executive. I want to be an assistant manager. So I want to progress in my career. So therefore, their outcomes are more promotions rather than job shift. And 1/3 comes saying that, look, I've been working in this field for the last 8 to 10 years. I need to work on data science, or I want to get an online MBA because it will allow me to stand tall in the peer community that I have, or I can lead a project which my clients are looking for. So I think all 3 of those outcomes are equally important, and 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is what we see the split of people coming for these kind of outcomes. When it comes to degree programs, if you do MA in English or BA in psychology, or let's say a BSc in mathematics, people typically come for degree program for 3 different sets of outcomes, Sahil. 1 is they want employability, and therefore a BA in history may not get an employability in a Tech Mahindra or a Wipro, but may end up getting the employability at Reliance Retail or Paytm or Myntra for a sales role or for a different kind of role, because the jobs are present. So I think we do offer internships and placements for people who are looking at the employability track for degree programs when we launch those. 2, people have this point of view on, hey, I'm doing this degree program for actually preparing for a state services examination or a government test prep examination, because I'd want to do this degree because minimum BTech or BE or BSc is required for you to apply for bank PO. So competitive career is 1, competition is 2nd.
Yeah.
A lot of people come to degree program for competitive examination. So my 3rd year of learning will actually put them in a track where we are preparing them for competition also. And the 3rd track for users are entrepreneurship, because a lot of people come from a family business background, and a lot of SMEs come there. So they understand that, look, my dad has been selling this cement in the local market through this channel. Can I go to Amazon? Can I sit in a shop? Can I create a more digital ecosystem? So we will train them on entrepreneurial thought process on the 3rd year of the track. So once a learner takes a BA English or a BA BSc Maths or a BSc in data science, after 2nd year, the 3rd year, they have to choose one of these tracks. Do I want to be in the internship career track, competition track, or entrepreneurship track? And we will try to deliver outcomes on that. So I think we are very clear that jobs is not the only outcome in this country. There are different types of outcomes that people are seeking, and we need to be clear about offering those outcomes to those individuals.
One thing, Mayank, I'm getting a lot of questions also is around upGrad marketing. A lot of times I'm retargeting on YouTube by the Ronnie's ad. He says what the anti-customer. Hello?
What's your feedback on the donkey ad?
Yeah, I really liked it, yaar. Mereko lagta hai because I think you have a marketer in Ronnie, so it helps in getting that, let's think, how do we market it? So I really like it. I wish you could connect me to him someday. We have to launch a TV ad, how to go about it. This is just an entrepreneur asking another, fellow entrepreneur, ki yaar hame bhi guide karo. But what was the story? And what is your overall marketing strategy in terms of digital spends versus online spends? And if video, how much does video versus banners work? How are you leveraging it? Because it'll be a great learning experience for me who's been involved in digital marketing for a long time.
Yeah. No, I think digital marketing, let me just tell you this messaging context and how we came to this messaging earlier. See, we did a long time back an ad with Vicky Kaushal, which was about releasing upGrad to the larger audience that, look, upGrad is doing this. So it was a lot more about, hey, upGrad does a XYZ. So it was a very large sort of messaging. Then we took a messaging of Raho Ambitious last year. We said that, look, we should promote Raho Ambitious. And I think what we realized that those messages are well understood by individuals. I think you need the trigger to get them to act. In areas and in industries where you are trying to create a market, you need a very strong trigger for people to react and act. And that's where we move to this context of what will shake them up and what will sort of get them to saying, I took notice of you. Because if you think of it, Sahil, our previous two ads were not that noticeable. Vicky Kaushal was because of Vicky Kaushal. The second one was a good ad and a great ad, but it did not shake the individual to taking notice of that. But this donkey ad did shake the entire sort of ecosystem, that it is a bit of a thoda hatke ad. So I think in the context of as an entrepreneur, anyone who is listening in, you have to think about television ad that, look, are you trying to win an existing market? And if you're trying to win an existing market, then your value proposition has to be really well understood. If you're trying to create a new market, beyond more than the value proposition, you need to shake the intrinsic motivation of the individual to take and act on. So I think your market style would be very different because it's an existing market. People want to go through higher education, but counseling as an approach is not well accepted. So I think in that context, maybe if you had to take a call, I would say shake the market by saying, hey, boss, why are you waiting and hearing your Tauji or uncle to sort of give you guidance when there's a lot of data-driven guidance available at Collegedunia that you can offer. But anyway, so that was a thought that we took, that, look, we need to shake the mindset that education as such in India is that after 23, you're not supposed to study. If you take our older literature and scripture, our lives are divided into 4 parts, right? I mean, there's a brahmacharya, there's a childhood age, there's a student age, there's a working professional age, and there's a sannyasa. So after your brahmacharya experience, you're not supposed to study as per our scriptures itself. Mm-hmm. So education is breaking that mold. And therefore, we need to create that experience in the process for us to sort of, that's what the thought process at which we launched this new campaign. And we said one of the critical problem is that we stand for specialization. How do I bring the message out of specialization that that people who specialize are the ones who stay ahead of curve? Mm-hmm. So that was the campaign, the idea that we went through. Right now, Sahil, if you ask me, on your second point, we do focus a lot on digital marketing. And we focus on Collegedunia, we focus on Google, Facebook, and all those platforms to target the user base. But the bigger challenge that we have noticed there is that those channels focus on people who have made up their mind and who have thought that, look, I need to do this. And therefore, they will go and search how to do data science courses, how do I sort of create it, etc. But if you have to build the market, television and video play a very, very important role. So to your 2B question, which was around, yes, we do digital and we do also do television now. But as we are going more into opening up market and building the market, our 5-line word statement on Google keywords does not necessarily cut the ice. Yes. Because you need to give out the statement slightly more in a storytelling manner. And for that, I need at least about 10 seconds to 15 seconds to 30 seconds to make that statement. And therefore, video becomes quite relevant for us to target in this entire process. So that's the approach that we are taking on marketing and on messaging for the right set of audience.
And last question is, like, do you think demo classes play a big role in higher conversions or something like that level?
So if you're asking me about, so it does help, but in education that's not the most important decision-making parameter.
Yes.
I think the bigger decision-making parameter is that, is this program right for me or not? Mm-hmm. Once they have decided, they just enroll. See, what demo classes do is that for people who are on the edge, if you want to bring them back after 3 months or 6 months or 12 months into the system, that's the time the demo classes does play a very, very meaningful role. But if they have decided, then it is better for you to counsel and get them into the program rather than giving them a demo programs over a period of time. App, for example, does play a very important role, because these days a lot of people are focusing. We are surprised with the reaction that television is pushing them to take an app and not come to the website. So app is playing a much critical role in the scaling up journey for upGrad.
Got it. It's a very nice insight. So Mayank, I think it's about time. I'll just take last 3 to 4 minutes of yours in taking up any topic which you think is relevant or I might not have covered.
No, I think. I would say the following, guys, that for a lot of people who are listening in today, that look, we are living in a very interesting time where online education is becoming and coming front and center. And you are seeing online education in K through 12. You are seeing online education in test prep. You are seeing online education, higher education, and working professional and working adults. I think the COVID over a period of time has played an important role in making the acceptability of online education higher. So what I see from a vantage point of having seen the first 5 years, Sahil, to the question that you asked, and the next 5 years, I see we are at a very strong inflection point of creating meaningful organization and companies in the online education space. So for a lot of students who are watching it, for a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening to it today, for a lot of administrators in the college and the university ecosystem, I strongly feel that today is a time for one to throw in the hat and take up online education as an entrepreneur and build something meaningful in this ecosystem. If I see myself 10 years back when I was looking at investing and analyzing assets in India versus today, the big difference that I see today is that the quality of entrepreneurs have significantly changed. People who used to be entrepreneurs about 10 years back till now, I'm seeing a very strong, eager candidates who are coming in and sort of setting up their own venture, building their own business, scaling their business with the right intent in mind. It's not about just making money, but it is about making a difference in someone's life and someone's career. I think with that entrepreneurial spirit and the markets being ripe and ready, I think it's a very interesting and unique time for every individual who has passion for the online education space to throw in the hat and saying, look, I will build something meaningful. Because for India, where we are right now, Sahil, to where we want to be, if we don't take the same leapfrog as what mobile phone did for telecom,
yes,
online has to do the same thing for higher education.
Yes, online has to do the same for higher education. So I just wanted to say, with last parting comments, so on Collegedunia, average around 50,000 users registered every day. So just to give you a number, so last year, the number of student registrations which were interested in knowing more about colleges or downloading brochure was about 1 crore. That was the unique people registered with us. So out of the 3 crore. Now, I'm just saying this because, I believe as you scale, I'm sure partners like us will be able to provide a lot of value, because once you launch degree programs, a lot of people like us have a lot of databases in which people have enrolled. So we know complete data, what is the paying propensity, what is the kind of colleges a certain student is looking for. A lot of data points where we can help you target the student who have not made up their mind. So, we as platforms can be, and not just the people who are helping you acquire students, but also creating that awareness about a certain program because of our targeting well. So this is what I just, and this is, so our targeting, this is what people have experienced, is much better than even Facebook, which is considered deterministic rather than the probabilistic that of Google, because we know the kind of interest, we know who wants to do engineering, BTech, BC, that.
No, I think we're very clear that for us to build this ecosystem, no one can build it alone.
Yeah, I know.
I think we need like-minded people to come together and say, and I think Collegedunia has built a phenomenal platform where folks who are looking at the degree and first-time degree, etc., are coming in. And I'm telling you, Sahil, that today the value of counseling is not understood.
Yeah.
People are thinking that, look, counseling to thoda sa time pass cheez hota hai, but the amount of pain that you guys take out from the minds of students is phenomenal, because for them, ultimately, you are the chacha who would always guide them, right? I mean, you are the uncle who would tell them what is the right program to take. and that's an important role that we are playing, because otherwise, without that, people end up taking a very sort of behavior chal decision and not a very personal decision for themselves.
Yes. Thanks for great, thanks for very nice comments about us, Mayank. I wish we have long synergies in the longer run. And on that note, I would love to thank you and your team for being with us and being a great partner for us, and wish to continue this journey as you explore the online bit.
Thank you, Sahil. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys.
Welcome. Thank you for the team for hosting this.
Okay. Thank you, team. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
करियर में आगे बढ़ने के लिए मुझे स्पेशलाइजेशन की जरूरत है। मैं कर रहा हूँ upGrad से
डेटा एंड मैनेजमेंट स्पेशलाइजेशंस फ्रॉम टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज ऑनलाइन। upGrad सिर्फ नाम की नहीं, काम की डिग्री। डाउनलोड द ऐप नाउ।